Hello, my name is Dominic Millett, and I am enrolled in the fall 2021 version of ISM 3011, and this is my Tableau project video. So the first step an individual must undergo when using Tableau is creating the data source, which is the information the software uses to create the visualizations. For my Tableau project, the data source is comprised of 4 different Excel sheets containing information about my customers and products, as well as information about my orders and suppliers. The customer and product Excel sheets were both created in and exported from an Access database containing information about my business. To export tables and access as Excel data sheets, you navigate to the External Data tab and select the Excel icon, where it will then create an Excel spreadsheet containing the information from the table. The orders and suppliers Excel sheets were already made as Excel sheets, so there were no need to export them from the Access database. Once I had all of the relevant Excel files, I then connected them to Tableau through the Connect tab located on the left of the Tableau homepage. After selecting Microsoft Excel and uploading the order sheet, I then added the other sheets and connected them to the order sheet through the fields they have in common, using the inner option when connecting them. After finishing connecting the Excel sheets, the final task I had to do was create a calculated field. In this case, it is order total. To create the order total calculated field, I first navigated to the triangle symbol at the top of the header and selected the Create Calculated Field button. From here, I chose quantity and multiplied it with unit price and saved the field as order total. This then creates a new column with the data from the calculation populating the column. After this step, the data source was finally complete. Okay. Moving on. Here we go. So the next steps I took in order to create the Tableau workbook was creating the various worksheets, which contains visualizations and information about my business. The 4 worksheets I created for this assignment were total sales by customer city, proportion sales by customer city, total sales by supplier by state, and lastly, percentage total sales by supplier by state. This worksheet, titled Total Sales by Customer City, was the first worksheet I created for the project. I created this worksheet by dragging C City from the customer sheet on the data pane into the column area of the Tableau workbook, and then dragging total sales from the measures data pane into the rows area on Tableau. This then created the visualization above. However, I updated the title of the chart to be more descriptive. As you can see, this chart reveals that my clients from Clearwater have spent the most money at my business at a little over $11,500, while my customers from Sarasota have spent the least at approximately $10,600. Proportion sales by customer city was the next worksheet I created for the workbook. Similar to the last worksheet, I began by adding C City from the customer's data pane into the column area on Tableau and total sales from the measures data pane into the rows area on Tableau. Then under the Show Me window, I clicked the pie chart icon and then expanded the chart to make it more visually appealing. Additionally, I dragged C City from the customer sheet into the label category on the mark shelf, and again increased the size of the font to make the chart easier to read. To change the size of the label, you simply click the label icon on the shelf where it displays a window that allows you to modify the labels. After this step, I then added order total as a second label and displayed it as a currency rather than a number. To do so, you click the triangle icon next to order total and go to the format option, where it will then allow you to change the format of the data. Lastly, I changed the title of the graph to a more meaningful name and added the option to filter the data by a product name by dragging the product name pill into the filter category above the mark shelf. As you can see, this worksheet reveals that my company's sales are relatively proportionate across my client cities at roughly 1/3 of my total sales for each city, respectively. Total sales by supplier by state was the next visualization worksheet I created. To begin creating this worksheet, I added the dimensions state, city into the column area and total sales into the row area. After completing this step, I clicked on the map icon under the Show Me pane to rearrange the data from a bar chart into the map above. To improve the appearance of the map, I dragged total sales into the color button on the marks field, which also created the legend you see above. I personalized the visualization by changing the color of the map. To do so, you click on the color button on the marks field, which also and select the edit color button, where it then displays a drop-down with various color palettes to choose from. Lastly, to add more clarity to the map, I added the total sales of each state as a label by dragging total sales into the label pane, changing the size and formatting it as currency similar to the last visualization. I also changed the name to a more meaningful one as well. As you can see, this map reveals that the suppliers in Florida have supplied the highest amount of sales at approximately $12,000, while South Carolina has supplied the least amount of sales by a large margin at roughly $3,200. Percentage total sales by supplier by state was the final visualization worksheet I created. Since the process of making the map was identical to the last step, I copy and pasted the data from the last sheet into a new worksheet to expedite the process of creating the map. After the map was copy and pasted, I navigated to the mark shelf and clicked on total sales with the label icon next to it, which then opened up a drop-down window. In that drop-down, I clicked on the quick table calculation button and then clicked on the percent of total option, which changed the data on the map and calculated the percentages. From here, in a similar manner to the other worksheets, changed the formatting of the data from currency to percentage to display the data properly. The final step was to rename the worksheet to properly convey what the worksheet reveals. As you can see, this visualization confirms what the previous visualization showed and reveals that the suppliers in Florida supplied the highest percentage of my company's sales at 36.5%, while the suppliers in South Carolina supplied the least of the company's sales at 9.74%. The final component of the Tableau workbook was to create the dashboard. One moment. Which shows all four of my visualizations at the same time. To create the dashboard, you begin by clicking the New Dashboard button at the bottom next to the New Worksheet icon, or you can go to the top up here and click New Dashboard as well. After placing each of the worksheets, I then dragged each of the four worksheets into the space to create the dashboard, which will appear over here. After placing each of the worksheets into the dashboard, I deleted each of the legends that accompany the worksheets in order to make the dashboard look cleaner and more organized. The next step I took was to make the dashboard interactive, which is more useful when trying to display and gather more specific information about your company. To make the dashboard interactive, I began by selecting the triangular drop-down next to the proportion of sales by customer city over here. I then selected the filters option and chose product name, which then added it to the dashboard on the top right corner. Once the filter was added to the dashboard, I applied to all of the worksheets by clicking on the filter, selecting the Apply to Worksheets button, and then lastly selecting the All Using Related Data Sources option. This in turn makes the dashboard interactive. As you can see here, I can change each of the graphs based on product name. As I stated previously, the dashboard shows all of the worksheets and individuals created all on one screen. Having all of the visualizations displayed at once is incredibly useful for analyzing one's business and assisting in making informed business decisions. For my company, The Getaway, the dashboard reveals a large amount of information pertaining to the cities that my customer live in, as well as which suppliers contributed the most to supplying the products that my company sold for that quarter. The first and second sheet reveals that my customers from Sarasota, Tampa, and Clearwater all spend roughly the same amount of money at my business. No specific city dominates my company's sales, so it is important to advertise to potential customers in all three of the cities listed, rather than focusing on one specific city or region for an advertising campaign. The bottom two visualizations reveal important information about the suppliers for my company. According to these visualizations, the suppliers located in Florida contribute the most to the sales of my company. On the other hand, the suppliers located in South Carolina by far supply the least number of products my company sold. Because of the disparity in the amount of the South Carolina supplier's products sold in comparison to the other states, I may want to take a look at the products that the South Carolina suppliers are selling me to try and pinpoint a reason why their products are selling worse than the other suppliers in states like Florida and Georgia. By completing the Tableau workbook, I gained a wealth of knowledge regarding the software. One of the things I learned about Tableau from this assignment is how effective it is at creating useful visualizations compared to other applications we have covered in this course. Although it may seem more difficult at first compared to Excel, the large variety of ways one can display information about their business, including accurate geographical maps and multiple different bar and line graphs, makes up for the initial difficulty of trying to master the software. Another thing I learned about Tableau was how to customize the visualizations. It is important to be able to make sure your visualizations and dashboard are neat and pleasing to the eye. During a meeting where an individual may be presenting data regarding their company to potential investors or higher-ups, having nicely organized and well put together visualizations can help better effectively communicate the information they want to these individuals. One final thing I learned about Tableau is how to connect various Excel sheets to create the data source for a company. This is one of the most important aspects of making a Tableau workbook because if the information in your data source is incorrect, all of your visualizations will be incorrect and could convey false information about your company to yourself or to others. So it is incredibly important to make sure that it is correct before creating any visualizations. And I'm stuck on the VM.